Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Land of Raw by Jenny McLachlan, illustrated by Ben Mantle. We're going to finish it today. Chapter 46. It takes some time walking to the on-off waterfall. Grandad is still wheezy. Rose and I are exhausted, and Wyn is doing everything he can to delay us. Ninja moves, stealth walks, bad magic. Plus, it's hard to rush when Raw looks so beautiful. Soft sun shines through the trees, and butterflies and furries fly around us. Every now and then we catch a glimpse of the sun setting into the bottomless ocean. Incredible, Grandad keeps saying, just incredible. When we can hear the crash of water from the on-off waterfall, Prosecco appears. He thunders up to us, desperate to see Rose before she leaves, and then sniffs her hair and face as if he's checking she's okay. Rose clambers onto his back for the last bit of the journey. She tries to get Grandad on too, but after he's stung by Prosecco's tail, he decides it's not worth the risk. Sorry, Grandad, Rose says, but she doesn't look sorry when she buries her hands into Prosecco's mane and rides along with her eyes half closed with happiness. When we reach the pool, Rose slides off Prosecco's back. The waterfall suddenly crashes down, making Grandad jump and covering us all in a fine spray. Will you look at that, says Grandad, laughing and letting the cool mist fall on his dirty face. He looks at me and Rose and smiles. You know, this whole place is quite amazing. After Rose has said goodbye to Prosecco, Wyn leads us in a limping line up a path behind the waterfall. Soon the path becomes a series of rocks that jut out like stepping stones. Every now and then water thunders past, forcing us to stand close to the rock face. Grandad is so distracted that I have to keep a close eye on him to make sure he doesn't fall into the pool below. Eventually we get to the mossy ledge and the four of us squeeze together. Behind the curtain of leaves is the tunnel that will lead us back to the camp bed and home. Grandad shakes Wyn's hand. It's been a pleasure to meet you, young man. I wonder if I could ask you to do me one last magical favour. Wyn's eyes light up. Anything. I need a bit of energy just to see me along this tunnel. I know the perfect spell. Only it turns out Wyn doesn't know the perfect spell. While he waves his wand in the air and tries out different words. Basket tail? No. Wind tail? No. Maiden grizzle? Rose and I take one last look over Raw. I let my eyes run all the way along the river as it twists and turns. I see the tangled forest and the dark blue bottomless ocean. Then I stare at the end. There is so much of Raw that we didn't get to see. Purple smoke floats around us as Wyn cries, "Imp grass!" No, imp glass! And fizzing stars start to pop. I know I have to take Grandad home, but I don't want to go. I feel at home here. I belong here. You know, you're going to be fine at secondary school, Rose says. Stop reading my mind. Never, she says. Wyn must have remembered the right spell, because there is a bang and a sudden puff of yellow smoke that twists around Grandad, leaving him with a faint sparkle. That hit the spot, he says. Then he turns and disappears inside the tunnel. Now it's Rose's turn. She gives Wyn a long hug. Keep looking for Mitch for me, she says. Then after gazing down at Prosecco, who is still standing by the pool watching her, she crawls through the curtain of leaves. Wyn throws his arms around me. I've had the best adventure, mate. Me too. I squeeze him tight. It's been imaginary. When he lets go, I tuck the welly and hat under my arm and quickly duck under the leaves into the tunnel. I don't look back. I can't. Hang on, says Wyn. I'll light your way with a little bit of Wyn magic. Before I can stop him, he sticks his wand into the tunnel and calls, Sapphire Ferret. I crawl after Grandad and Rose, surrounded by thousands of blue stars. The stars follow me down the tunnel, lighting it up, and only begin to fade when the stone under my fingers disappears, and I'm crawling over soft mattress. I see a bright light, and I move towards it until I'm rolling onto the attic floor. Rose is slumped against Grandad. The old rocking horse glares at me from the corner of the room. I'm so glad you both decided to play, Grandad says. Then he has a puff on his inhaler and leans back in the sun. I pull the welly boot and hat stuffed full of our things on the floor. Then I take the fidget spinner off. I hold it in my hands. Do you think it has to be something that belongs to us? I say. Rose looks up. What do you mean? To get into our world? Does someone from Raw need to be holding something that belongs to you or me, or could it be anything that comes from here? Like what? She says. Oh, nothing. I decide there's no point mentioning that Croaky still has Grandad's no problema t-shirt. I mean, what are the chances of Croaky wearing it if he ever does go into the tunnel? Almost zero, I decide as I clamber to my feet. Rose and Grandad join me. Does anyone fancy fish chips? Grandad says. With mushy peas, says Rose, slipping her arm around Grandad's waist, and then the three of us trudge down the attic stairs, a few stray blue stars and wisps of yellow smoke floating along with us. Chapter 47. This is the final chapter. 1 week later, Rose and I are walking towards Langton Academy. The sky is grey, my blazer is enormous, and I really wish I hadn't let Mum cut my hair last night. I feel nervous, but not a dragon's about to eat me nervous, so nothing I can't handle. I wonder what Wyn and the Lost Girls are doing, says Rose. I look up, surprised. We've not talked about Raw much since we got back. Rose has come up with a theory that what happens in Raw must stay in Raw, in case the universe gets mucked up. She says it's to do with physics and too complicated for me to understand, but really I think it's because Raw is impossible to put into words, not without sounding weird, and Rose still doesn't like sounding weird. Wrestling, I suggest, or maybe they're all at the Crow's Nest having a barbecue. Up ahead I see Langton's grey walls and the high security fence that surrounds the school. My stomach squeezes. If the camp bed was in front of me, I'd dive straight in. Seeing as Rose is breaking her no speaking about Raw rule, I decide to ask her a question. Rose, you know when you said that flying was the second best thing that's ever happened to you? Yeah, she says suspiciously. Well, what's the best thing? She rolls her eyes. Making Raw with you, obviously. She's right. It is obvious. We haven't forgotten our promise to Wyn. We're going back as soon as we can persuade Mum and Dad to drive us over to Grandad's and leave us there for a few days. We've already told them that we need to help Grandad finish the den, and half term isn't far away. Meanwhile, we've decided to get fit. Since we got back, Rose has been swimming every day, and like Wyn, I've been eating loads of apples and building up to the press-ups. We spent the day after we got back patching up our cuts and bruises. Mum thinks all three of us crashed our bikes when we were out mountain biking. She wasn't quite so convinced when I told her my trainers got so bashed up I had to throw them away. Really, Arthur? She says, eyes narrowed. Actually, they got burnt off my feet by a dragon. Very funny, she said, before agreeing to buy me a new pair. Grandad also took us to choose our paint for the den, and now it's sitting up in the attic waiting for us. One half of the attic is going to be yellow, and the other half will be navy blue. I chose the blue, and it's exactly the same colour as the bottomless ocean. The camp bed is tucked away under the eaves, next to the paint and Prosecco, and that's where it's staying. Rose! The shout comes from over the road where three girls, Angel, Nisha and Bryony, are waving like mad. Walk with us, Nisha calls. Rose glances at me. I'm fine, I say. I've beaten my nemesis. I think I can handle a few teenagers on my own. A group of older Langton boys sweep past us, knocking my bag off my shoulders. Well, you didn't actually beat your nemesis, says Rose. He escaped. In a boat. Details, Rose, details. Walk home together? All right. She grins and punches me on the shoulder. See you later, Arthur. Yeah, see you later, Rose. Just before she crosses the road, she pushes up her sleeve, and there is Mitch's bracelet. So I don't forget, she says. Then she goes to join her friends, where she's greeted with a flurry of squeals and hugs. I pull down on my rucksack straps and walk on towards the gates of Langton Academy. I might be short, and I definitely can't play football. But that's fine, because I know who I am. I'm Arthur Trout, Master of Raw. that's the end. I hope you enjoyed it. There is a sequel, Return to Raw, which I've got at school, so once we're back, if you want to borrow that to read, then you can do. But you'll have to wait till I've read it first. All right, hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.